Okay, so we came across this really fascinating and honestly defiant document online. It's a personal declaration of sovereignty called the Sovereign Manifesto of the Moon King. It's an absolute masterclass in fighting a war with words. And in this explainer, we're going to break it all down, the arguments, the language, and its pretty powerful philosophy of resilience. Right out of the gate, it hits you with this incredibly powerful line. You cannot wear down what regenerates. Now, this isn't just a claim of being tough. It's a direct challenge. The author is basically saying, I'm not a rock you can chip away at. I'm a living thing that just grows back stronger. And that one idea, it really sets the stage for everything else that follows. So you have to understand this wasn't just written in a vacuum for fun. This manifesto is a counterattack. It's a direct response to what the author calls never-ending smear campaigns and relentless humiliation rituals. It is, for all intents and purposes, a personal declaration of war.
The core conflict here is really a psychological one. It's a war of attrition. And the author argues the main weapon being used against them isn't truth, it's not evidence, it's just sheer mind-numbing repetition. The goal isn't to convince anyone of anything. It's to exhaust them, to just keep throwing the same stuff at them until they're too tired to fight back.
So how do you fight back against that? Well, the author does something really crucial here. They give the strategy a name. It's not just harassment or bullying. They identify it, they label it, and then they get ready to take it apart. And that name is the howling dog routine. So what on earth is this tactic they're talking about? The author defines it as a kind of performative victimhood. So an accuser makes a big loud claim, right? But the second they get challenged on it, they react with even bigger outrage. They howl like a kicked dog, even though they were never touched. It's even compared to a fake baby cry, a sound designed purely to disrupt and distract, not to communicate any real pain. And the accusations themselves? Well, according to the manifesto, they're designed to be absurd. The claims are all over the map, from something mystical like witchcraft to legal stuff like fraud, all the way to the completely bizarre, like literally stealing the kitchen sink. The whole point seems to be to just create chaos and overwhelm, making the attacks feel both serious and totally ridiculous at the same time. So you're facing this constant barrage of accusations. What's the defense? Well, the manifesto's answer isn't to argue every little point. Instead, it pivots to a core philosophy, and it's one that's built on a pretty interesting contradiction. And here is that paradox in action. The author is putting out this big public message for one reason: to show everyone how much they don't care. It sounds strange, right? But the logic seems to be that the only way to silence all that howling is to make an even louder, more powerful statement of your own indifference. This quote, this is the absolute core of that philosophy. And the logic is actually pretty simple. When your opponents have already accused you of everything possible, what power does a new accusation even have? The attacks just become background noise. It's like achieving victory by becoming completely desensitized. Now, this whole I don't care attitude isn't just a tactic. It's rooted in a really deep personal and sovereign idea of the self. To deal with all these external attacks, the author has constructed this complex, layered identity that they believe is simply untouchable. First, they claim the title of Moon King. This is way more than just a quirky name. It is a declaration of personal sovereignty. It elevates their authority to a whole other level, a celestial one, basically placing them outside the judgment of any accusers here on Earth. And then the identity gets even more unique and kind of mystical. The inner dragon bunny. It's such a fascinating mix of symbols, isn't it? You've got the fierce power of a dragon, but it's fused with the resilient, maybe even underestimated nature of a bunny. It's a really personal metaphor for their inner self. But beneath the king and the dragon bunny, the author reveals what they see as their foundational truth. After listing all the things they've been called, they state the one thing they believe they are: a child of God. And this is framed as the ultimate, unshakable core of their identity, something beyond any kind of reproach. But right after building up this mythic, almost celestial identity, the manifesto just yanks us right back down to a very mundane reality. Their actual life, they say, isn't some frantic, epic battle. It's smoking pot and watching YouTube. And that contrast is the entire point. It's meant to show that this external war has zero effects on their internal peace. So where does all this lead? How do resilience and indifference and this sovereign identity, how does all that actually translate into a victory? Well, it all comes together in a final, simple philosophy of what it really means to win. The whole conflict gets boiled down into this one stark comparison. On one side, you have a whole group of people who the author calls a group of losers. And on the other side, you have the author, a single winner. Just framing it like that is a huge power move. It's all about individual strength triumphing over a collective. And this is the ultimate redefinition of success. The author declares they would rather be a single winner than a group loser any day. Victory, in this worldview, it's not about convincing your enemies or clearing your name. It's simply about standing alone, intact, and totally in charge of your own narrative. The whole manifesto really leaves us with this final, really provocative question. In a war that's fought with stories instead of weapons, who actually gets to write the ending? Maybe victory isn't about proving who's right. Maybe it's about who has the sheer will to write their own final chapter, no matter how loud the noise gets. It really makes you wonder, who wins a war like that?